Welcome back to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and we are up to episode 17. Can you believe it? Today, we're talking about something very positive, winning strategies for the new year. Now, you'll notice that there is a little bit of a difference this time because this episode is recorded. I had a scheduling conflict that I could not change. So this one is recorded, but we go back to live stream next week. So next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have Heart and Mind live stream where you can participate. You can ask questions. You can make comments. And if you're watching this and you tell yourself, oh, I could be on that show and give my opinion on things, feel free. I will actually ask you during the episode, or you can contact me beforehand. Go on my X site, Dr. Dina1 on X, and say, hey, I want to be on your show. Send me a comment, and I will send you a connection so you can be on the show. So let's get started because today I have a lot to show you, and it's really exciting. Now, every Tuesday night, available on Daily Cloud, X, Rumble, Facebook, Getter. You can participate, you can listen in, and of course, these shows are also recorded, and I'm glad of that because shows like today's really involve information that you might want to listen to and watch more than once. And having it recorded makes that possible. But it's also fun to be part of the live stream audience where I'm actually sitting there with you. You're sitting with me. You can comment spontaneously. You can ask a question and get it answered right away. Now, if this is your first time, I'm sure it's not, but I'm a social psychologist. Basically, what we study and experiment on is factors around learning, influence, persuasion, manipulation, coercion, brainwashing, indoctrination. Yeah, we say influence and interaction because that sounds nicer and we can pass that off. But what we study is, I call the evil science, because we don't just look at what happens naturally, spontaneously in the world. We look and experiment ourselves to see what can be done to change someone's beliefs and or behaviors without alerting them that somebody external did this on purpose. Afterwards, most of our experiments involve the person afterwards taking full responsibility for the new choice, thinking it happened spontaneously, naturally, organically. It's not. It's something that was done. And the sneakiness of that is why I've been so motivated to have this show and to show you how it's done. But today, yay, we're going to be turning to the light. So while I've been spending my time during the show up to now, helping everybody learn what other people can do to you to influence you against your will, today, we're going to do something different in that we're going to use social psychology so you can use it on yourself. I'm going to show you what to do so you can maximize your chances of reaching your goals. And if you have New Year's resolutions, keeping those resolutions. Now, make note of this show because hopefully you don't only make goals for yourself once a year. And as you proceed, you may actually change your goals, you may add to your goals, and you'll want to have a refresher on what to do to maximize your chances of being successful. And I've got an early Christmas gift for you. We've all been there. 1 minute, your kiddo is bouncing off the walls, and an hour later, they're super sick. You feel helpless, and it can turn your plans upside down, especially during the holidays or when you're on vacation. After thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has just launched the Kids Medical Emergency Kit. You no longer have to deal with emergency illnesses while you're in panic mode. Now you can have 6 critical medications at your fingertips to treat 20 plus illnesses for issues like strep throat, ear infections, lice, and respiratory illnesses, avoiding urgent care and hospitals. The Kids Emergency Kit has been hand selected by the Wellness Company's Medical Board, and it includes chewable amoxicillin, dissolvable ivermectin, and an optional EpiPen, and more. This includes a detailed guidebook guiding you step by step in emergencies. Ordering this kit is simple. Only parents can order for their children. Fill out an intake form and you'll get a verification call for consent. Then it's delivered to your door. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis and avoid those late night urgent care runs. Order your Kids Emergency Kit today and remove panic from your life. And if 1 or 2 of the scripts run out, there's a replenishment option to restock only what you need. Go to dailycloudhealth.com and grab your Kids Emergency Kit right now. Use code Dr. Dina to save up to $40 at checkout. These kits are only available in the USA. Now, I mentioned it being almost Christmas season, and as you can see in the back, you see a few Christmas decorations. I love Christmas. If you're like my sister, my eldest sister, Tony, used to tell us every year that she used to threaten to get our Christmas presents from 7-Eleven on New Year's Eve, and she would always tell us, I hope you guys are all right with beef jerky as your Christmas present. If you don't want to quite wait until then, because Amazon delivers a lot faster than that, support Daily Cloud's historic work by ordering the Pfizer papers on Amazon. The Pfizer papers features the latest analysis on the Pfizer clinical trial documents, the ones they wanted to keep secret for 75 years. You can order it on Amazon using the link in this description, or just go to Amazon and type in Pfizer papers. Get clued in. I hope one of your resolutions is to stay on top of information so that you're not taken advantage of. And if you want that for your family, it makes a wonderful gift. So I hope you will look into getting your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Now, let's talk about increasing. I'm so happy. I love doing positive things. I guess I'm a bit of a marshmallow. I know I seem cynical because being a social psychologist and working in the evil science, but when I can work in something that's positive and good, it makes me so happy. So step 1, if you are going to make a change in the new year, now remember, you don't have to do it on the 1st of January. That's arbitrary. Although it is kind of fun to have the energy where everybody else is doing the same thing. But please start now. Don't wait until New Year's Eve. You're much more likely to actually have goals that really matter, that you can actually keep if you plan ahead. Planning ahead, you've seen me talk about this in other things where I've said, isn't it interesting how most people don't, we were talking about staying ahead of naughty relatives, troublesome relatives, and we were talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas, and most people don't think about the fact that if you plan ahead on what you could do, what your options are if things go wrong, it can help you save the day during some sort of crisis that occurs during a family event. Well, it can go a positive way too. Plan ahead for what you want to be different in the new year, and we're going to talk about the best way to do that. Now, if you're scratching your head and thinking, well, I'm already fit and I already have the job I want and my relationship is good, what can I do to change and improve my life? I had to think about this, and I did it the way I do best. I go out walking in nature, looking around, paying attention, breathing it in, and then just saying what comes into my head after that. This is what came out. Personal integrity. If there's one thing that would put me out of business as a social psychologist working in troublesome relationships, it's dealing with people with personal integrity. Do what you say what you'll do. And I'm not talking about always pinky swearing. I'm talking about just being someone, if you say, I'm going to bring milk home from work, you pull into the driveway, you realize, uh-oh, I forgot the milk. You don't stop. You pull out again and you go and get that milk because you know to the people around you and to yourself, being trustworthy is the best gift you can give yourself, and it's the best gift you can give other people. Open a gold IRA with Birch Gold Group and get free silver coins shipped directly to your home. That's right. It's the most wonderful time of the year. The time of the year when Birch Gold gives away a free silver American Eagle coin for every $5,000 purchased. And here's the best part. You don't have to pay a penny out of pocket. By December 20th, simply convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. And Birch Gold will send your free silver coins directly to your home. Now, you might be thinking, why do I need to diversify into gold? My guy's headed to DC. Things are good. Well, here's the facts. An administration trying to put a dent in a $36 trillion national debt in just 4 years is like a field mouse trying to stop a freight train. We can't even afford to pay the interest on the debt, let alone the principal. So better be safe than sorry. Take action now to protect your savings. Text the word Daily Clout to 989898 for a free info kit on gold and to claim your eligibility for free silver on your purchase from Birch Gold. But you must do this by December 20th. Again, text Daily Clout to the number 989898 for peace of mind that will last longer than 4 years. Now, something I want to mention with you. There's a good news, bad news with personal integrity. As I mentioned, there is nothing better. One of the things, if you have kids, for instance, and you're tired of yelling at them and telling them, do this, do that, with personal integrity, you no longer have to. You give them instructions, you tell them the consequences of not obeying. And because they know that you say what you do and you do what you say, you can tell them, if you don't make your bed, you're going to have to go to bed a half hour earlier tonight, or you're not going to that party, or you can't have that cupcake after dinner. And you can say it in the mildest tone, no anger, no hysteria, because you are a person of your word. Now that counts for you too, though. You cannot make the excuse that I was angry, I was hormonal, I was tired. If you're someone who hasn't personal integrity, you recognize you are always responsible for what you say. You are always responsible for what you do. So you're careful. You don't threaten, because you know if you threaten something, you have to keep it. And you don't necessarily want to take all of their clothes and put them on the lawn. That's the negative part. You do have to hold yourself accountable, but it's amazing. Here's the easiest step, like with some of the things we're going to talk about. You know how I got to the point where I stopped getting really angry and yelling and doing all of that sort of thing? I took my permission back. I simply told myself, I don't have permission to misbehave no matter what's going on, no matter how the other person acts. And because I was doing other little things, including if I said I was going to get the milk, I would get the milk. If I say I'm going to get, my steps on my Fitbit today, I make sure I get my steps on the Fitbit today because I was doing all of that. When I said something to myself, I trusted myself and it happened. So please, if you're thinking of something, or even if you already have a list, please add this one because healthier relationships help everyone. Now, it's also important when you make these goals, make them realistic. Don't try to go too far too fast. You are probably not going to become a billionaire within the next 6 months off crypto when you don't even have any crypto. Nothing will short circuit you're setting your goals and achieving them like setting your goals so big that they're not realistic or it's something for which you have no talent or have no contacts. Here's something that's a wonderful little secret that social psychologists know. I talked about using learning in the brain to help you improve the probability you get what you want. Your brain processes information differently when you write things down versus just saying them or even typing them. So get a little cheap notebook, get a journal, get something, and whatever your goals happen to be, don't make too many of them. Whatever your goals happen to be, I want you to write them down. Most people know that staying hydrated is essential to nearly every bodily function, but 75% of Americans still don't consume enough fluid daily. As we age, natural bodily changes make staying hydrated even harder, especially without artificial additives or excess sugars. That's where Native Path comes in with extra help. Native Path's Hydrate is not just another drink mix. It's a thoughtfully designed formula packed with BCAAs and all 9 essential amino acids to help with muscle recovery and overall vitality. Plus, it's completely sugar-free and 100% natural. With their Native Hydrate product, you can fuel your body with essential electrolytes at the cellular level for overall vitality. And unlike other hydration drink mixes that are designed for marathon runners and contain upwards of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, Native Hydrate contains just 230 milligrams of sodium for optimal daily hydration. Free of artificial flavors, sugars, or dyes, it's only 5 calories per serving. Right now, you can get up to 44% off just for being a listener to our show. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, 2 free gifts, plus free shipping. Visit nativehydrate.com/daily clout to see what Native Hydrate could do for your health. Again, the site name is nativehydrate.com/daily clout. So, have you gotten it yet? We're going to take small little baby steps. We're going to have realistic goals. We're going to make sure it's something that would genuinely improve your life. And here's something else. I want you to change whatever you have in your mind as something you want to do to make a better 2025. I want you to switch the frame around and make sure the frame is positive. So you don't put, I want to lose X number of pounds or X number of kilos for my overseas people. Okay. You don't put that. You put, I want to get healthier and slimmer. You put, you don't say, I'm going to stop being late to work. I want to be someone who's always on time. I want to be prompt. I want to be respectful of people's time. I want to stay calm during situations instead of I want to stop losing my temper. It makes a huge difference how you frame it. When you frame it in a positive way, you bring more positive things to the situation. So please, everything I've included may sound small. You may think, what difference does that make? But it really does. I wouldn't add it if it didn't make a difference. Now, I am going to add in my friend, influencer, successful author, Melinda Richards is coming on to help me. And I want to tell you, for all of my regular listeners, some of you comment quite a lot. If you want to join me in the studio, you are also welcome to do so. Next Tuesday, while I'm live streaming, or even before, contact me on X and say, hey, I want to be on your show. I want to be on your studio. I want to comment on what you're saying. Welcome aboard. So let's welcome Melinda. Hi.
Hello, Dina. How are you? It's so good to see you.
What do you think about this one? Most people don't know this. This is some of these little tips that they teach us in social psychology that the average person doesn't know. That by changing the frame from something negative, something you want to lose, leave behind, whatever, and changing it to, I want to embrace, I want to be more of this, you actually increase the probability that it will actually happen. What do you think about that?
Oh, there's just so much around this topic, isn't there? Because, so many people get influenced to have negative self-talk. They're sitting there, and when things go wrong, they perpetuate some negative situations because of the way that they frame things up, and they speak to themselves, and they say things that don't really need to be said, instead of flipping it and going, okay, there's a situation, let's make the best of it. Let's turn this into a positive. Either I've learned from it, or I know this person better now, and I know what I should and shouldn't do with them. But I'm loving the theme of the show today, which is about, a lot of it's about self-improvement. And it's a great reminder that I think that we have got a lot of opportunities to take a break. And we need to take that break to have a reset and always say to ourselves, what are we leaving behind when we leave the world? Are we going to leave a place that's a little bit more positive and happy? And are we going to contribute to our friends and our family? Or are we going to be a little bit selfish and narcissistic and just go after our own goals? And I think there's a really good mix in here of how people can become better, not just for themselves, but then that gets projected onto their friends and family. And I know a little conversation we had earlier, Dina, do you want to be the person that people ring when things go crazy? Do you want to be the person that can be relied upon? And I think that's a really good litmus test. You're definitely one of those people.
Well, I worry about some people in positions of authority, because since we all have a really strong primal reaction to threat, we did a whole few episodes specifically on fear, because it's the easiest way to get someone's attention is to make them afraid. But
yes,
ensconcing yourself in negativity takes you somewhere dark and dim and grim. That's not where you want to be. You want a better life. So if you get used to, just for yourself, framing things in a more positive way, adding in personal integrity, we can all change our lives quite dramatically. And I want you to think the changes that we're making, I want you to think about them to be positive changes. Positive changes. So I'm hoping, maybe I'm unrealistic, but I'm hoping that I get some people who vote differently than I do to actually watch the show as well. I certainly have a lot of friends who vote differently than I do. And I have been very, very worried about the hyperbole, the extreme fear that's been whipped up by their side in order to keep them as a unified group. But it's making their lives just so hard.
It is really difficult, Dina, to watch some of that behavior, though, when you see the fear and they genuinely believe it. And I think that what you're saying about recasting things and going inside yourself and trying to be accountable and being positive, these people who are so afraid and pushing out a lot of that hyperbole, as you say, they really do need to have some really strong decisions and people around them that can bring them back into taking responsibility and accountability for what they're saying and what they're doing and making those changes. The big thing that you mentioned before was, it is about accountability and responsibility. It is about taking that on and not blaming everybody else for the things that are going wrong. And I think that's a really big part of fear factor. If you can't get past that fear, you are going to get brainwashed, and you then cannot take responsibility for what you do from that moment on.
Well, I would also caution people, don't trust anyone. I don't care how they vote, how they look. Don't trust anyone who keeps trying to control you through fear, who keeps trying to make you afraid, who doesn't do what we're doing today and present, hey, here's some positive ways we can all have a better life. Here's a way we can have integrity. Again, if everybody just took that one thing and said, okay, I'm going to have personal integrity this year, it would put so many therapists out of business. People would find themselves being promoted at work. They make more friends. Their intimate relationships would improve, but they would also start making different demands, because once you have personal integrity, once you take responsibility for what you do wrong, when you make a mistake, you're like, I made a mistake. I need to correct that. You start to look differently at people who won't. And it's not that you don't have to necessarily become harshly judgmental, but you just know that those people are not your people. We all look for our tribe, and people of integrity look to be part of a tribe with other people of integrity. People who want to make positive changes look for other people that make positive changes, because everything attracts more of its own. So if you're using negative self-talk to make changes in your life, you're just going to attract more negative situations. You use positive self-talk, and you're going to find all of a sudden people want to be around you. They want to help you. Like attracts like. Now, here's another thing.
So true.
I would say, don't try to start at the end. If you're looking to improve your life in a major way, one of the things it helps to do is to inspire yourself to do it. So the next couple of little slides are about simple ways to inspire yourself. And thank goodness for YouTube. Now, I know YouTube has been going through some issues with regard to censorship, but for the most part, you can find a TED Talk or an inspiring video on just about anything you want to do. Or you can find an online group for just about anything you want to do. And these people are enthusiastic. They understand some of the shortfalls and flaws and how you overcome them. Get revved up, because it takes energy to make a change in your life. There are parts of our lives that want to stay exactly where we are, even if we're not happy there. That inertia takes energy to overcome, and let it be positive energy, because sometimes people move out of an inert state due to a huge threat where they have to. It's like people who all of a sudden get a terminal illness and decide to mend all their relationships. You don't have to do it that way. You can have an epiphany through a positive source. You can watch something, listen to something, see something happen, and say, this is going to be my life now. And if you have to read one source or watch one TED Talk, I know I've spoken about her before, but Professor Carol Dweck's work is life-altering. Her growth mindset work is life-altering, because just like when I said I stopped yelling when I was angry because I took my permission back, that was a single decision. That was a switch in my head. So is having a growth mindset. So you have something that happens that's hard. You tell yourself, oh, I have a growth mindset now. When something is difficult, I know I can learn whatever I need to get through this, to succeed at this, to make it happen. It's a decision. A growth mindset is a decision. So what do you think about that, Linda?
I think it's a very, very fundamental part of moving yourself from A to B in life. I think it's absolutely fundamental to alter our mindset. I think a lot of people in society, and society kind of bats us down a little bit, that we become inherently negative and we don't even realize it's happened to us. So to get back into a mindset of positivity and growth can take some work and it can take some time. And it's hard not to go down a negative path sometimes, particularly if life gives you a few curveballs. But to stay in that is easy. It's getting back to a positive mindset. And it's critical. It is one of the most fundamentally critical things we are all going to need moving forward, and particularly in Western society right now, because Western society, and particularly Christianity, is under attack. I mean, it's subtle. It's a lot of it's covert, but it's definitely happening. And to come together and to move to where we need to move as a society and to get our core values back again, I think we need a big ball of positivity to wrap around us. And I think that energy between all of that positive people, it will make a fundamental difference to how we move forward in the next couple of decades, I think.
Well, I also look at Carol Dweck's TED Talk. She actually shows you some MRIs where people are given a tough problem and they actually photographed their brains, how their brain responds to this tough problem. Those with the fixed mindset, where you say, this is who I am, this is how I think, these are my skills, these are my abilities. Now, you could be really smart, but if you have a fixed mindset, you're very threatened when you come across information that is not within your known skill set. And they photograph people who have a growth mindset saying, well, if I don't know it now, if anybody can learn it, I can. If I'm willing to put the energy in, I can do this. They photographed their brains and showed all different parts of their brain were lit up when they came across this tough situation. Where the fixed mindset people, it was darker, and the light, the energy was very small compared to what happens for the people with a growth mindset. And she makes it really easy to know exactly what to do to get a growth mindset. So while we're talking about what can fire you up to be inspired, music. And here's something I would say, since Melinda is Australian, here's something I would say that the Americans have an advantage over the Australians, the Canadians, and the British. Although Rule Britannia is pretty cool, we have a lot of music to really fire us up about being Americans, to make us feel like, hey, we're all holding hands and going forward together.
Yes, you do.
And you have people like Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA, which he's been singing at all the rallies, the Trump rallies and things. And I've loved that song for years. And when I put something about it on my X feed, I had a Canadian say, oh, we look down on all that rah stuff that you Americans have. And I said, that's why you've been taken over by communists.
That's why you have Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister.
That's why we had Biden, because they stole the election. But that's why we said, we don't like this situation. We don't have to live like this. We can change it. It's that same kind of inspiring. We look at each other, we all get tears in our eyes, because it talks about the entire country, about all the different things that we love, about what we share. Find inspiring music about whatever it is, or even make up your own little ditties. You'll know, if anybody knows my work, they know that when I have, if you look at my brief overview of abusers' strategies and tactics, my ebook that you can find on my website, after each tactic, I have a little ditty that I made up. Now, I'm not a poet. I just made it up. You can make up your own. But I have a little way of just a little song kind of thing, something rhythmic, so you can remember what the concept is. Having a little thing of, I only eat when I'm really hungry, something just a little bit of music. Find some music that gets you inspired, that you can do whatever you want. Find a little ditty that helps you stay on track. Music is magic. That's why throughout time, cultures have always put sacred texts and important information for their society to music, because nothing will embed that information in the parts of the brain that are awake during heightened circumstances like music. So find some music that really get you going, because your goal is to communicate with your subconscious and unconscious mind. Remember, your subconscious and unconscious mind make between 88 and 95% of your life choices. That neocortex, as I always teach people in my class, I haven't pointed ahead this, the new brain, the intellectual brain, the problem-solving, language-based brain, it's loud and it talks a lot, so it thinks it's in charge, but it's really not. Most of our life choices are made through the limbic system and the primal brain. So you want to get the information that you need in those parts of your mind. So here's how you communicate with your subconscious that you're changing your life. You go to the grocery store or go to a different grocery store. Find an ethnic grocery store and try out a new food. Find out the name of it, and you can look up how to cook it or how to prepare it and try a new flavor. Try something you haven't done before. Go to a new location. I know I have been where I am for 2 years, and there are parts of the city I haven't seen. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to those. I'm going to look at those places. I'm going to explore. I'm going to see what's there. Here's another thing. Everybody has always said this. It wasn't just Jordan Peterson, okay? It's one of the reasons the military tells you to do this. Make your bed in the morning. Start your life, start your day with an accomplishment. Start your day indicating to your brain that you're an organized person who knows how to take care of what they have and where they are. Clean out your closet. Now, if you're a woman, this is painful to hear, because I know I have to do this too. Over this little Christmas break, this is one of the things I'm doing. I've even started already because I was putting this material together. I found a bunch of old shoes. Some of them I never wore, some of them worn, but I just had them in the closet. I threw them all away. They were not good enough to give to charity. They just needed to be tossed. And so I tossed them. So clean out your closet. Now, Melinda, while I'm finishing this last one, I want you to be thinking, what are your own tips, okay? Now, the last one, and this is how I have actually seen this work. I was astounded how well this works. So, step one, pick a length of time. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. Pick a direction, north, south, east, west. Travel that direction for that length of time by any means you like, whether you take a bicycle, a bus, a car, you walk, run. And when you get to that period of time, stop and explore your environment. It is, strangely enough, I know I didn't invent this. Strangely enough, it is one of the easiest ways to communicate to your subconscious that you're ready for real change in your life. I got it from Deepak Chopra, so I'm thankful to him. I'm going to give him credit. But it actually works. So I want everybody to try this stuff, and then I want you to write to me and tell me what happened after you did it. Now, do you have any cute little tips for communicating to your subconscious mind, Melinda?
I do. For me, I've set the goal of books and reading. So I've decided that I don't want to purchase anything else in my life anymore unless it's really meaningful to me. And I've focused my attention on reading and books and giving myself time to read. And it hasn't really worked out yet so far, but I'm working on it. So I'm working on improving my knowledge, and I am cleaning out my closet at the moment as well. Funny you should say that. And we are in our household paring right back. So we're trying to really go down that path of simple life, no purchasing, no sort of unnecessary purchasing, unless it's something of great value, which is for me a book or a piece of artwork. So for me, that's the goal, is get into reading and get into the things that people talk about. Certain books all the time. People recommend really amazing books. And I am yet to find that space in my life in particularly the last 5 or 6 years, where I can actually, or even decade really, where reading used to be such a major part of my life, and now it's it's a smaller proportion. So I'm increasing that proportion, and I'm trying to do that very overtly. Yeah.
Well, I would have two suggestions for you there. And I'm sure that my listeners, my watchers, my audience have also. Remember what I said about baby steps. So if you want to actually start reading more, don't try to say, I'm going to read this book for 2 hours. Say, I'm going to read for 10 minutes or
Yes.
5
Yes, that's
minutes.
right. Yeah.
And then that
Absolutely.
way you can say, look, usually right when I'm preparing dinner while it's cooking, I'm going to open my Kindle or open my book, and I'm going to read while the food is preparing. Now, don't let it burn. So we're talking 5 to 10 minutes with a timer on, and do it that way. I would also advise people audiobooks, because I know that when I really want to get information into my brain, I read the hard book and I also get the audiobook. And that's why
Yes.
I was so insistent with my book, But He Says He Loves Me, which still is the only book that really walks you through the initial stages of what abusers do at the very beginning of the relationship. And it does it from the perspective of an abuser. I had so many people say, well, I don't really have time to read. So in 2023, I purchased it, I produced it as an audio book. And I've had a lot of people tell me I can do this now. So one of the books that did that for me, Carmine Gallo's Talk Like Ted. So since I do a lot of public speaking, I bought the book. It was so helpful about how to give really good presentations. So I
Yeah.
also got it as an audio book. And as I go on my daily walks, I was going on daily walks, I would put the book on and listen to the book. And you know what it did? It was hilarious. This is what I mean about more energy than you think. It got me a TED Talk,
Yes.
because when I
Which
ran into
yeah. Yeah.
somebody that was producing that or coordinating that, and the information that Carmine Gallo gave me about be able to in 180 characters be able to describe what you do, what you have of value. This person said, "Oh, why are you here?" Blurb. I gave it to her. She's like, "Wow, that's really exciting. Have you ever heard of TED Talks? Would you think you'd want a TED Talk?" So you can also find me. Just put Dr. Dina McMillan TEDx and you'll find my TED Talk. But that's how I got it, from reading the book and then having it in audio. So it would go into different parts of the brain. And I was just doing it for public speaking, but it literally got me a TED Talk.
Yeah, it's beautiful, because a lot of the time the way that you think about things and the positive vibrations you can create become self-fulfilling prophecies. And I think the same goes for the negative as well. And so this is it's a great demonstration of that. I truly believe that, and that's a very good example of it.
Well, here you see a black box. No, that is not supposed to be a black box. One of the things that happens when you transfer PowerPoint to Google Slides, sometimes it gets a little bit strange. That was actually the audio version of my book, But He Says He Loves Me. So when you go on my website, you can find a way to get the audio version, or you can even get it on Amazon. But of course, I had to give Carmine Gallo. When people really impress me, I get so excited. I keep talking about them. So you'll notice that Carmine Gallo's here. I have to give him full credit. He helped me so much. Now, here's another thing. And I know Melinda, we have a lot of good talks outside of being on air. I know you're going to have some interesting things to say about this one. Nature abhors a vacuum. One of the ways that people who want to make changes in their life fall over and find it challenging to get back up is that they say, I want to remove this. But nature abhors a vacuum. You have to put something that you want in its place. So when you take something out, you say, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to buy extra things. You have to say, what am I going to do instead?
Absolutely. Yes, I totally agree with that. I think that we sort of grow up in a way that we're very indoctrinated and we're very brainwashed, and we have certain things that we're told that we should do. We go to school, we go to uni. If you don't get a degree, you don't get a great job. You get all of this sort of indoctrination around you, and it takes experience and it takes age, but it also takes a lack of fear to move outside of the spaces that you've been indoctrinated to work in for the first X amount of years of your life. And I think that what you're talking about today as well, and particularly about this vacuum, is that you change. You don't actually lose or gain. You just shift. And when you're shifting, you're shifting completely. And it does take bravery to do that. And it takes bravery to stand alone and to think and to understand things at a deeper level and take a position. And therefore you're not sort of losing something. You're just moving into a different realm, and therefore you don't have that vacuum, but you do have a completely different way of seeing the world. And not only is it more positive, but what I'm finding, particularly now that the energy seems to be shifting, is that vacuum and the void is being filled by more awakening and positivity now. And I think that we're seeing that actually in not just individuals, but we're actually seeing that in broader society. I sort of see it and feel it now. And I've been working on that myself for the last decade, but it seems to be growing. And I think it's exciting. I think it's great.
Well, I would also say, too, that love them or hate them, the example of Donald Trump and Elon Musk has been an amazing influence on society because both of them said, we want to fix what we believe is wrong. Now, you may not believe those things are wrong. You may have a whole different belief set, but they said, we want to fix what we believe is wrong. And both of them were literally under threat of death.
That's right.
I mean, over the last few months, there have been things coming out about making Elon Musk leave the United States. He's had literally billions stolen from him. People trying to take over X. Both he and Donald Trump have had assassination attempts. They got really close with Trump, where if he hadn't just tilted his head, this would be a whole different conversation. And both of them jumped up and down and kept going. Now, how can you not follow that example?
And I think that that's a really important point there, because everyone prior to a few key people in the last decade standing up, particularly in the last 5 years, everyone was probably being ruled a little bit by fear, but not even really realizing it or understanding it, and not understanding the system they were in as well as they should. Now that's changing. And the reason why it's changing is because, love or hate Donald Trump, he has shown courage, a deep level of courage that everybody else really wants to have. They really do. I mean, most people want to be brave. We all want to be courageous. No one wants to be ruled by fear. And when you mentioned that earlier today, that fear is the greatest emotion, it absolutely is. But deep down, I think subconsciously, people still want to be a courageous and a brave human being. So when you have those people in public who are actually demonstrating it, you are creating a new movement of courage. I mean, I don't think it's even about Donald Trump at the end of the day. He has become almost beyond himself. He's become a symbol. And I think this American election was symbolic. And it wasn't symbolic about the man Donald Trump. It was symbolic about having the courage to change, having the courage to understand that If you don't like something, you can stand up and be courageous enough to stand up for something you believe in. It's become a movement. So it's sort of gone even beyond the man itself. And part of that is you move from one part and you become a better person. You don't create a vacuum. You just move into this part of yourself that goes, I'm going to be more courageous. I made that overt decision, 6 years ago, that was for me. And it was difficult because I was very alone at the start. I mean, you're a little bit of an island, but gradually, the longer that you stay courageous and brave, the more that people look at you, and they're not even looking at you as a person. They're looking at what you are symbolizing. You are symbolizing having the courage of your convictions. And I think this is the sort of positive change that people can jump on board in 2025. And it's become a movement. I mean, you've been a part of that movement very strongly yourself, Dina. You've been a very strong part of that.
And it's been going on in my life for decades.
Yes.
Because I have faced huge rejection, including from my own family, literally for decades. Because once I learned social psychology, learned flow-on effects, learned how we're persuaded, and started to be able to actually see the strings of social manipulation that were not taking us somewhere empowering and positive, but were just making us afraid and controlled and satisfied with a very small life that was filled with debt and things that we didn't really need. And I saw that, and I said, I am not only am I not going to give into that, I'm going to help other people see it. And I have faced some genuine opposition. And I will tell you now, one of the goals that I have for my new year is I'm moving where I belong.
Yes.
And the courage that Melinda's talking about, that you're talking about, Melinda, it actually is sort of a vibration. Yes. And when you vibrate with that kind of courage, I really do believe that Elon Musk, who was already a brave guy who was with a definite growth mindset and a brilliant mind, but I believe one of the reasons he befriended Trump is because they're on the same vibration.
Yes, I agree.
He was astounded when he saw Trump get shot. And then as they're taking him off stage, he's saying, fight, fight, fight. Don't let this stop you. And he's like, oh my goodness. And a part of him said, I want to be part of that. And he's had death threats since, and they've had all sorts of threats against his business. They've stolen literally billions of dollars from him. I'm hoping he can get it back because he earned it. But
yeah, the thing about Elon Musk, because he's also a very interesting character, because Donald Trump sort of started where he started and ended pretty similar to where he started. If you look at Donald Trump's interviews, in the 1980s, he still had the same courage and mindset that he has today, which I admire him for. And I mean, yes, he's got flaws, as we all do. I mean, anyone that doesn't have a flaw, please put your hand up and let me know. But Elon Musk is slightly different, though, because, of course, he did not start in that mindset. He has had to go through his own growth very recently, and he's had to go through his own evolution and change, and he's done that. He's told people about it, and he's been very, A, brave about telling people that he's done it, and B, very brave that he's even done it at all. And so there's this kind of different sort of courage from Elon Musk, but it's almost magnified because he has had to evolve. He wanted to evolve. He did it. Then he spoke about it. And in any way, shape or form, that shows a really deeper level of courage too.
Well, also too, I think Elon Musk being friends with Donald Trump makes sense, because if you watch read any of the comic books or watch those comic book themed films, the superheroes are always friends with each other.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
You're the wealthiest man in the world. Who are you going to be friends with who really wants to be your friend and doesn't want to just get stuff from you?
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he's got his own stuff. He's got hundreds of thousands of people who will stand in line in the rain and snow to see him. So he's not trying to get anything off Elon. He admires Elon, but it's a genuine admiration. So I am looking at that team and saying, wow. And I just want if there is a Democrat Party, I want it to be the party of JFK. I want
Yes.
it to be people who have slightly different values, but are still about, hey, we're going to get to the moon this decade, and hey, we can change these injustices in society, instead of trying to scare people. We have people now with the Daniel Penny case saying, oh, now Black Lives Matter leaders saying, it's now a war on Black people, and white people are just going to go around killing Black people. And we've already talked about it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I actually think the reaction to that has changed remarkably than 2 or 3 years ago as well, which is very, very interesting to see how the BLM stuff plays out now as well, because certainly in Australia, we're getting a lot of resistance to the welcome to country. Even Aboriginal elders are saying in Australia now, listen, this is not, we don't want the division anymore. We don't need for you to say welcome to country. This is not who we are. And quite frankly, it's insulting and patronizing. And I think that, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens with BLM now as well, because whilst a lot of the woke narrative is falling apart, I think it will take a lot for BLM to stir up division the way they did years ago. I think people are waking up a bit to that. And actually, if you delve into the background of BLM, they've become very wealthy. The founder of BLM,
the leaders, they've done nothing for the Black community. But one of my problems with BLM is that if you look at who voted for Kamala Harris, and I mentioned in a previous episode of the show that more than 90% of Black women voted for Kamala Harris, even though they could not cite a single accomplishment that Kamala Harris had, because they were told to by Black leadership, and they were purposely made afraid of what will happen with a Trump administration, including being told that the Trump administration is trying to reinstate slavery. So
it was very sad. It was very sad to listen to some of those beautiful women talk in their videos and talk about what they were afraid of. I actually just felt really sad when I watched them. I wasn't even.
You feel sad. Those are my people. And I'm like, I have to pull them back from the precipice. This is really, really tragic. Of course, they see me as a traitor and a sellout, and I get called all sorts of names that I don't want to say on air because I try not to curse, but I get really criticized for not playing along. And I tell them quite simply, I have a different knowledge base than you do. I am a social psychologist with a doctorate from Stanford in social psychology, and I've lived in 5 countries and traveled to an additional 20. I have a different frame of knowledge. And more than anything else, I've been taught to see the strings of manipulation. They have not. So I would really love to do something with my Healing the Rift program that I'm talking to people about, including more people in the UK. I'm talking to people in the US about it. We've got to get people, we don't want to waste people who are hovering in fear where they could be contributing to a society that's stronger for all of us.
Yes,
so I don't want to waste that. Now, one of the things I felt I had to include in this when we're talking about goals is an aversion band. But one of the things I would argue with the aversion band, it's basically just to give yourself a little bit of pain. If you want a cigarette, you snap the rubber band or the aversion band on your wrist, say, no, I don't want a cigarette. So your brain starts to associate the desire for whatever it is with a little bit of discomfort. I would say it would only work, again, if you had something positive to do instead. Don't remove something without putting something better in its place. Also, here's something else. Find something that calms you down. For me, when I feel anything, I go walking in nature. If you can walk somewhere without shoes, that's even better. But go out in nature. Just feel the sun on your face. If you can do it in sunlight, very, very good. Go out, feel the sun on your face, listen to the birds. And also, you see the acupressure picture on the left? If you press in, if you're feeling a negative emotion or you're feeling afraid, you're inclined to do something you want to stop, if you press that place between the thumb and the forefinger, it will actually start to rewire your brain not to want whatever that is. But you have to plan for temptation. There are going to be times, let's say you decide this is the year where I'm going to enjoy where I am. I'm going to have a good time without any artificial substances. So no drugs, no drinking. You go out to a party, everybody else is drinking alcohol. How are you going to handle that? Once again, plan for it. What do you tell them? If you have the kind of people who won't listen, tell them you're detoxing. But a good friend should accept a no thank you without an explanation. No is a full sentence. Any suggestions on this one, Melinda? What do you think?
I'm laughing because for me, it's like I'd have to just not go to the party. I do like to have my champagne with my friends, so yes, that would be difficult. But I have a beautiful and dear friend who comes to all the social functions, all the events, and she doesn't touch a drop of alcohol. And she's been doing that now for about 15 years, and she's very proud of herself. And she had to go down that path, and I see her as very inspiring. But yes, I must admit, I have a couple of vices, and probably drinking at a party would be one of them, but I don't go overboard. And I have learnt to really just one or two, that's the end of it. And I do have a lot of self-talk around that now. So yes.
Well,
but
I want to also inform the audience that if you have something that you'd like me to help you with, to just put a little note and write to me and let me know. And if you fall off the wagon, if you slip up, just stop and recommit to your goals. Don't beat yourself up about it. It happens to everybody. Here are some other quick things because we're getting short on time. So let me just say, track your progress. It can be as much as just putting a star on the calendar. You don't have to make it high art or, a doctoral dissertation, but find some way to track your progress so you can actually see and give yourself what Dr. Phil calls an attaboy when you say you're going to do something and you actually successfully do it. And get support. Go online. Go to meetings and clubs and be around other people who have the same outlook and will have the same or similar goals, so you can support each other and get tips on what to do to be more successful, how to handle certain situations, how to get back on the horse after you fall, all of that. And here's something I want to say before we go. Even if this has to be edited down a little bit, I want to share this next part. You have to be careful about sharing your goals, because if you tell your goals to the wrong person, they could undermine your efforts. Make sure whomever you tell really wants that for you too, that they're not going to tease you, they're not going to mock you. If it takes more than one attempt to get there, they're not going to try to embarrass you around the family or around your friends. They're not going to make things very challenging. And please, please, I want to quickly show you something. Avoid negative people. Their presence is costly.
People ruin your life. There was actually a study that was done in 2006. It was called the bad apple effect, where they took groups of 5 people and randomly added a negative person to some of the group to see how it would affect the group while they were working on tasks. The groups that had one negative person did 40% worse on all of their tasks, and the quality of their work decreased by 25%. They also found that groups that had a negative person had 50% more conflicts and more disagreements, which led to less effective collaboration. The crazy part about it though, these sessions were only like 30 to 60 minutes. Some of you have had negative people in your life your entire life though. Imagine what they're doing to you mentally.
Wow, that's powerful. Of course.
Isn't that just? So, as I said, even if we have to take some of the show off, because this is a really important, positive show, and I really want people to succeed, For the negative people where the world is, we talked about not sitting next to them at a family event, the person, oh, the world's coming to an end, just negative people who think you can't reach your goals. Remember, because you're aiming for your goal in incremental stages, you're willing to put in the effort to learn at each stage. If you fail, that means you just need to learn more and you're going to try again. You have that growth mindset. So stay away from anybody who would rain on that. And if you belong to a support group, be very honest with them about what's going on. Don't share this necessarily with the other people I said you want to keep it private from. Private is not secret. Okay, secret means you're doing something you're not supposed to and you're hiding it. Private is you only share with the appropriate people. So be open and honest about the struggles, the gains, the successes with the people in your support group. And here's another little tip that'll help you really do things. In the new year, change something in your environment, move something around. You can do it, change the curtains, add a throw pillow, move something from one part of the room to the other. Show your subconscious you're welcoming new, better things into the new year. And decide how to reward yourself. Now, that's the personal one. She's got chocolate. If getting healthier is your goal, perhaps chocolate isn't the thing you want to do. You can reward yourself with something else. But keep in mind always, you are retraining your brain and letting it know who you are in 2025, which can be completely different from who you are in 2024. And spend some time out reminding yourself why you're doing it. Keep telling yourself why you're doing tasks. I'm making these changes because I want this in my life, or I want that in my life. And here's something I got from Eckhart Tolle. Be present. Now, you notice I took a picture. Thank you, Grok. I made a picture of people, this guy walking down the street, looking at everybody. Everybody's looking down at their phone. I often see this where people are walking down the street, they're sitting with their friends, and everybody's on their phone. Put down the device and be present where you are. Any positive change you want will happen more quickly and more completely if you are present. Don't be brainwashed by that device. And if you have any questions or comments, because this is recorded, there are a lot of places. Go to Facebook Daily Cloud, go to Rumble where this is recorded and write your questions there. Reach me on X. I'm always on X. So you can always just ask me a question. Now, do you have any questions, Melinda, before we close?
Oh, not really. I don't think, Dina, I think, but it's probably just more a comment that, self-improvement keeps going until the day that we die. And I think today was really great to have a look at some of those self-improvement steps before the new year. It's always a great time to reflect. And I think it's been fantastic for that.
Well, I want to thank everybody for watching this recording, and I'll be there next Tuesday. So you can actually see me do the live stream and add your questions and comments, or you can join me on the stage if you're bold like Melinda. And you can reach me on my website, www.drdinamcmillan.com. So have a good week, and I'll see you next week.